everybody, and welcome to another episode of Slotted In There with me, Sean. So this week, me and the guys were chatting, as we normally do, and the topic came up about old arcade games. And that got me thinking, and it brought back a lot of memories of me as a young boy, first going into these arcades, being dazzled by the lights and the sounds, and just the whole experience of going into one of these places. And the memories came flooding back, so I thought I'd record some videos of some of the best arcade games that I enjoyed as a young boy. I've got lots of fond memories of these games, so why don't you join me as I recollect my memories of yesteryear, of more than 40 years ago, and walk down memory lane and relive some of these experiences that I had with these absolutely classic arcade games. Now, my very earliest memories of going to an arcade were from family holidays to the east coast of Great Britain, primarily around the east coast of Yorkshire, Scarborough, Bridlington, Hornsea, Withensea, towns like that on the seaside, where the family would spend the day there, and then at some point we'd have a go around the arcades, constantly pestering my parents for more and more tenpences to put into the machines, as did most kids back in those days in the late 70s, early 80s. And that's where I started to see the first electronic arcade games come into the country. Up until that point, it had been more of the mechanical type games, so like Bagatelle with the ball bearings going around, or pinball machines, or things like that, like the two-penny pushers where they fall off into the coin slot below. But it was around the late 1970s that I first saw some of these games coming into the arcades. So seeing these games and playing them and experiencing them was absolutely amazing to sort of like a 10-year-old me. I'd never seen anything like it before. And the fact that you could interact with the television screen and control things happening in it rather than being it just a passive experience as it had been up until then. It was just mind-blowing, and it got me hooked, and it's got me a love of gaming for the rest of my life. So that's where I initially saw these things, but my biggest experience of actually playing on these things was in an arcade in the town of Hull, and it was called Sunspot. It was right in the centre of the city, and me and my friends, we used to hop on a bus, go to the city centre, and I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here, but bear with me. So we got off the bus, headed our way to a place called Yankeeburger, which was the place in Hull to go for fast food at that time. If you lived around the area around the late 70s, early 80s, you'd definitely know about this place. Absolutely amazing burgers, fries, and it had a 12-inch hot dog called Frank the Yank, which was absolutely amazing. Side note here, if you've heard of chip spice or red salt or whatever it's called nowadays, it is literally all over the UK, I think. That was actually invented by the owner of Yankeeburger. So we'd go grab our fast food, our burgers and hot dogs and whatever, and munch them through town on the way to Sunspot. And going into Sunspot was like, all I can describe it was like a magical experience. All the windows were tinted, so you could kind of see what's going on inside, but not really from the outside. But as soon as you open those doors, the whole smell of the place, the sounds, and the lights flashing from the machines, it was just a magical experience. And all the other people in there, so you had lots of like-minded young people in there playing these machines. It was just absolutely amazing. There's not really anything like it. I mean, I know there's still arcades at seaside towns and things like that, but they don't give off the same vibe as they did back then, because this was a new form of media and art and entertainment, and it was just amazing. Anyway, we'd go into the arcade and we'd go around all of the machines, and then we would decide which ones we was actually going to spend our money on and put our 10 pences in. And it's from those memories that these videos have been born out of. It's my memories of going into places like Sunspot and experiencing these arcade games in all their glory back in the day. And so let's get on to the actual games themselves. So the first one I'm going to pick is one of my earliest memories. And this was actually at one of the seaside towns. It wasn't in Sunspot. It got a bit old by the time I was going there. But this was one of the very first games that captured my imagination and took a lot of 10 pences off me at the time. And that game is called Rally X. So Rally X, it's a maze chase arcade video game. It was developed in Japan by Namco and released around 1980. So the basic thrust of the game is you drive this blue Formula One race car and you're going through like a multi-directional scrolling maze. And the purpose of your job is to collect yellow flags dotted around the maze, all while avoiding a number of red cars that are chasing you to try and catch you. So as you're going around the maze, you'll occasionally find some things like boulders and blocked paths, which you've got to try and avoid, because if you hit one of them, you crash instantly. You can temporarily stun the cars following you by dropping smoke screens behind you. And it wasn't an easy game to be good at least for me anyway. So back in the day, I'd slotted lots of 10 pences and gone back to my mum and dad and asked them for some more so I could carry on playing it. And it was so addictive. So with all that being said, let's have a look at the actual game itself. And this is me playing it today, 40 years after I originally started playing it. And so I don't expect to be any good at this at all. But here we go. So here we are in the maze. You don't have to worry about bumping into the corners of the maze. You sort of like travel around them automatically. And then we're going around, and on the right hand side you've got a map which shows you where the current flag locations are. And you've got the 3 red dots chasing you. And they're the chasing cars. So off we go. Picking up the flags as we go along. And as you can see, you know, from today's perspective, the graphics are extremely basic. But back in 1980, when I first saw this, it was absolutely mind-blowing to me. And the fact that I'm controlling this car around this maze was just amazing. And that's basically the crux of the game. Collect all the flags, avoid the red cars, which you can see I'm not very good at, until you lose your lives. You get 3 lives. And as soon as they're all gone, you have to put another 10 pence in, which is what I did. A lot. So there's one of the blocked passages that you have to avoid. Otherwise you instantly die and lose a life. So looking back on this, it's kind of giving me Pac-Man vibes. You know, similarities being you've got a maze, you're running around the maze, you're getting chased by a number of enemies, or ghosts in Pac-Man, and you've got to collect things around the maze. Which coincidentally is another of my favourite old arcade games, the classic Pac-Man, and we may or may not be seeing that in a future episode. So once you've collected all the flags, the remaining fuel in your car is totted up as points and added to your score. and you go on to the next level. So the flags are located in different places around the map, and you get an additional red car chasing you. So you saw there was a flag with an S on it that speeds up your car slightly, enabling you to run away from the chasing cars a little bit more easily. So here we have some bonus footage from a recent trip to the arcade club in Leeds by myself and Damien, and we was wandering around the place and we found Rally X. So of course I had to have a go on it in its natural environment and relive all those happy memories. So there you go, guys, that's Rally X from all the way back in 1980, and a youthful Sean slotting his 10 pences into it left, right and centre. Have you played Rally X? What did you think of it? Is it one of your favourite games or not? Let me know in the comments down below what you think of it. Or have you got any arcade memories yourselves? What are the old arcade games in your memory that you're fond of? Let me know down in the comments. So that's the end of the first episode, Rally X. I hope you guys enjoyed this nostalgic trip down a retro arcade memory lane. I certainly have, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.